Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down clients, stuck in a chaotic sales cycle, and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, end sales chaos with a robust strategic plan, and to harvest the hidden profits. Today, we will begin, at the beginning, client thinking. Client thinking is the foundation of your sales strategy, processes, and methodologies. And all of this revolves around the client's perspective because the customer's perspective equals truth. So let's talk about what we're going to cover in today's episode. We're going to be talking about the client's perception. We're going to talk about how that influences everything they do. We're going to talk about how you can tap into the client's perception or the client thinking, how that's going to set you apart and give you a competitive edge to get more clients. You know, when we think about how this works and we go back, people had this whole process that they would have you go through as you have your own business and you're building out what your solution is and how you're going to attract clients and get those sales. And it also impacts if you're just out there working as a career woman and you are wanting to get a promotion or you're wanting to sell your idea to the boss or to your team of peers, right? Sales is that fundamental element of you connecting with the other person or people that you're working with so that you can move forward with your product or service or with the solution that you have. And that is creating an impact. Sales is this really beautiful thing because it allows you to create impact either for your business, for your client's business, for your personal life. And that impact, it has a ripple effect because that in turn trickles down to the team members, to the peers, to the business, to the employees, to the community. And that's what's so beautiful about sales. And when you start, you are starting with the client perception and client thinking, whether it is with the client, whether it's a prospect or with another individual, another human being. So ladies, let's rethink and flip the switch on sales because it's really about guiding your client, your prospect to a decision. And that's what's going to be so revolutionary in your thinking to get more clients. So as I had talked about the old school of thinking, right? Sales is not some kind of sleazy manipulation. That is not the way to go about it. When you approach from the client's perspective, what you're really doing is bringing in the approach of worthy intent. Now, this is a phrase that I will use often, and you're going to hear on every single episode, because worthy intent is about your genuine desire to help and serve others. This is how you move the needle forward. This is how you create impact with your clients, with their business, with your community. So we're going to be following up on this worthy intent, and we're going to talk about it often. And let me give you a little bit more insight into worthy intent. It's a curiosity about the other person, about their business, about what they want, need, or lack. How is that going to help them? What problem will it solve? What area of concern will it address? You know, what's the pain point? Because then how is it going to benefit them? You know, what are those benefits going to do? Why does it matter to them? And so they can do what? regardless of your product or service, ultimately, to get more clients, you must tap into the so they can what? And I had this running joke, here it is, I had to look for it, that an iPhone, nobody buys an iPhone to make a phone call. If that was the case, we'd all still be using those crazy flip phones or something else, right? No, it's for all the other things. And that's the thing, the beauty of it is that the iPhone, anyone in the world almost can purchase an iPhone, right? And yet people, their individual motivations and the reasons that it matters to them are unique and different. So when you start focusing on your client why and how you're going to communicate with them, that's what you're going to be looking for, the thinking like the client and gaining their perspective. And this will allow you to guide your client to a decision. It's going to impact everything within your sales strategy because client thinking also evolves and changes along the client journey. And ultimately, this is all about delivering that incredible client experience. So they have this wonderful journey of working with you, and that they in turn want to share that experience with others and provide you with referrals, introductions, testimonials, online reviews, all of the things that are going to help you get more clients, right? Because it's reciprocal. You've given them literally a gift of your product or service and how you've helped them, how you've served them, how you've moved them forward and created an impact. And they're going to want to return that reciprocal energy back to you. So that's what I've been talking about. Let's flip the switch and think about getting more clients in a completely new way. This is about being of service. And that's why we start with worthy intent, and why client thinking and worthy intent are the backbone. They're the foundation of everything that you will be doing as you move forward. Because let's think about this again. Client thinking is the foundation of your sales strategy, your processes and methodologies, and they all revolve around the customer's perspective, because the client's perspective equals truth. It's really just that simple. So let's talk about client thinking again and that old school thinking. So some of the old school thinking is sort of like, this is what you have to offer and this is what it does. And so I'm going to come up with some kind of a SWOT, right? The strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities, all the things that go into making that SWOT, right? And you might put together some kind of master strategy that could be a brand pillar, and then a competitive analysis, and then how you're going to communicate that, what's the messaging. And then, you map that out to an action plan. Yeah, that's really the old school thinking. The problem with that is there is a perilous gap. And that gap is thinking like the client. So I want you all to think about the movie Cinderella. All right, who hasn't seen one version or another of the movie Cinderella? And Cinderella, at the end, if you're thinking of whichever version, and they've got the shoe and you're trying to put a foot into the shoe and they're trying all these different ways to cram the foot into the shoe. There's a perilous gap between that and the shoe, your foot just sliding into that shoe, and it's the perfect fit. That's the perilous gap, and that is what client thinking helps you solve. So let's dive into client thinking and what are the foundations of thinking like the client? Well, there's a few things that we have to talk about with that. The first is think about your product or service, what it is you do, what you provide, how you help and serve others. Now, take that step back and you're thinking about that product or service, and then let's start to describe your client. Who are they? I'm a woman, and you may elaborate on that, right? And I have a problem. It is. Or I have a concern. It is. All right. So what is that problem or concern? Right. And so with businesses, it could be, I need to get more clients. But let's use a different example. So let's use an example in a completely different arena. So health, and maybe you're a woman and you have type 2 diabetes, and there's all the different health issues that come around with that. And the problem is I've got some serious health concerns and health issues around having type 2 diabetes. And I'm looking for solutions. I'm looking for some ways to help mitigate those that are not just taking yet another prescription, which have their own level of side effects. I'm looking for ways that I can be healthier, that I can get more movement, that I can eat better, that I can take control and own my health. But I need help because I don't know how to do that. And every time I've tried, it hasn't worked. I'll try something and it just doesn't stick with me. So that's my problem, right? And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a way to eat better, eat healthier, right? I'm looking for a way that I can incorporate more movement so I can have more energy. And so I can be healthier, so I can feel better, so that I can be there for my family and friends. I mean, that's a big so I can, right? So when you walk through that scenario and that's client's perspective, that's what you've just gained from that. You've gotten this insight into what they're thinking. Now, I want to tell you, you still approach this from their perspective. And a great way to do this exercise is to bring together a group of your trusted peers or partners, your team members, people that you trust and you want their opinion, and you brainstorm through this, right? So that brings in a little bit more collaboration and collective thought into this client thinking exercise, thinking about the client's perspective. All right. Now, there's another way that you can tap into, how am I doing with this? How close am I? That's using a couple of different tools, like also asked or answered the public. Now, these tools are absolutely ideal if you think about your product or service, what you do, and I want you to put it into just a couple of words. If you can get it into 2 or 3 words, that's terrific. And you plug that in on those sites, you will get an answer. And what that answer is it's the long tail searches that people type into Google. This is actually what the client is thinking about that topic, right? So, as an example for me, I can type in, sales strategy, or I could type in that type 2 diabetes menu plans or something else. I mean, start thinking about, like I was using that example, you can try a number of different things, but the whole point is you actually get the long tail searches that people are asking for. Type 2 diabetes health concerns, or overcoming type 2 diabetes, or reversing type 2 diabetes. These are all different types of ideas that you would have for that. If that was what you were doing, that was my example I was using. And so when you do that, you're going to find out what the clients have been thinking, right? I mean, this is what they're thinking as they're typing this. These are the questions they have. These are things they want to find answers for. And what's brilliant about this is you're going to see some things that don't apply at all. And you're, yeah, okay, And then you're going to find other things that go, oh, yeah, that is exactly what I do. This is how I help people. And now you can take that and you can actually put that phrase, that search into the Google and see what comes up. But you can start looking at ways that you can create content to leverage the client thinking for what they're searching for to begin with. How can you provide an answer for them? Something that they're going to find you, how they're going to find you, right? So this is how it all works. And I'm giving you this scenario so you can start to see the vision of why thinking like the client is so core and powerful for you to get more clients. Okay. It's the same thing if you're actually not in sales, but you're in your career and you're trying to brainstorm about ideas for the business. You can use this same process, right? And you can start to look for the content and how people are responding and thinking about this, so that it helps you widen your paradigm, sort of like that think outside the box. This is really how it helps you think outside the box. When everybody says that, think outside the box, and you're going like, well, how the heck do I think outside the box? So that's one of the ways, is to use these two tools. And I'm going to be straight with you. The one tool, they really have you're going to have to pay to get access to the tool, but they're both very easy to use and quite affordable, and they're going to serve you well, which is why I mention them. But you can also do your same Google searching. Start typing things in of what you think the client might be searching for and see what pops up, right? And that's another way you can do it. All right, now I've gone through getting that group together. So you've got the collaboration and you've got that input that you're receiving. I've had just doing some using Google as my friend and finding answers that way. Well, there's a third way. And the third way is to ask potential clients. Ask prospects, truly do an interview and research. And this does not mean that you have to talk to hundreds or thousands of people. You need to talk to at least 7 people. But most people are going to be respectful if you offer to, you ask for help, that you are researching the topic and you want their input. You're not trying to sell them anything. And never sell them anything. You're truly doing research. And if you're going to use this to write an article, to create a new YouTube video, to whatever you're going to use it for, you're going to use it for a podcast, whatever it is you're going to use that, let them know what you're going to use it for and why you're doing it. Because you want to get diversity of thought. You want all these other women all over the world to give you their ideas. In my case, I just said 7, so that's not all the women all over the world, but you need to get at least 7 people to give you input. And then you can structure the questions that you ask so that they're open-ended questions, so that you can truly get input on how they think about a topic, right? And walk them through that scenario. And it's going to be unique and different for everyone. So let's go back to the example that I used on type 2 diabetes. So what would you do? So you're going to be interviewing women who have type 2 diabetes health concerns. And that's probably a great place to find those would be in Facebook groups. There's all kinds of meetups or other areas where you could connect with people. You can participate in those and let people know that you're doing a survey, or you're putting together, not a survey, but you're actually collecting research data, and that you're going to put together a white paper. That's a great one, right? Because you actually will get enough information that you can write a white paper that could become a valuable asset on your website, on your business, right? Okay, so we're going to use that scenario. And you're going to have people who respond to you. You can also do direct outreach and messaging. And you can use the Facebook Messenger. You can connect with people, and you're going to get your group of 7, 10, 20 people. That's, if you really want to go get a lot, you can do that. But 7 is all you really need. But it's always great to have 10 or more. So you're going to interview them, and you're going to start to think, so what are those questions? So what are your top concerns about having type 2 diabetes? And then let them tell you what those top concerns are. Okay. And if they have to prioritize it, what are the 1, 2, 3? What are those top 3 concerns? And then regarding the number 1 concern, and as you get this feedback, you're going to need to modify your script as you go. But let's say you've made an assumption that they're going to say that it's, all the medications they have to take. All right. And so we're not prescribing here, and I don't want to get into something that I don't know that much about, even though I use this as an example, but it's like, how are they feeling about that? What's some of the things that they feel, how that impacts them? How does it impact their motivation to look for alternative ideas and methods to get better, to get healthier? All right. And so that would be one scenario. And as I said, this is a little bit out of my range. I'm just using this as an example. But as you see, you're putting these questions together. And you want the questions, the interview to not last more than 30 minutes. So think through the questions that you're going to ask. And so that's going to be anywhere from 7 to 10 questions. So that's 7 is that magic number. But make sure those questions really allow them to elaborate so that you can then pull that information forward. And as you do that, you're going to be diving into the client thinking. And when you do that with 7 different people and you're collecting the information, a great thing too is to record the video. If you're doing it via Zoom or whatever platform you're using, because then you can go back and watch it and put it on mute and look at their facial expressions, look at their body language, all right? And see what seems to really light them up, what seems to go like, oh, how are they engaged? Because that's going to give you this window of insight into what they're thinking, again, from an emotional level. All right. And then watch it also to listen to their tone and then sort of put it all together. That's also going to give you some additional insight, because we always want to connect with people human to human. We're an emotional animal, right? Come on, women, ladies, emotions are so important. They really frame our decisions and our motivations, and they help us to take action, right? They help us to see what the future could be if we make a change, if we choose to do something new, take a different path, right? So that's really an important piece to get more clients, to think like the client. So all of this ties in this beautiful way. So when you do those interviews, you're going to get so much information. And one of the most surprising things is that you're going to discover something that you thought was a significant pain point or area of concern, a problem, something they wanted to fix. It really doesn't matter that much to them. It always happens. And it lights up like all of a sudden, whoa, now I've widened my perspective again. My paradigm has shifted yet again, so I can think more like the client. All right. And that is a beautiful thing. And what you'd use with this, why this is so powerful, is now you have this secret code, you cracked the code as to what they're thinking, why it matters to them, and so they can. All right. And you want to include those questions in some format as you're doing those interviews, describing the problem, the area of concern, what they're facing, what could help them, what they're looking for, how it's going to help them, why it matters to them, how it's going to benefit them. And so they can so they can do what matters to them. Incorporate that into your questions. Remember, that's those key things as you're incorporating those into your questions in the interview. All right. So now you have gained this incredibly valuable perspective of the client. And now you can put it into what you're doing so that you can make better connections, right? So you can get that spark of interest, that you can rapidly build rapport, and that you can cultivate the relationship with worthy intent and guide your client to a decision. And we will be talking about this more. Next week, we're going to really dive into how we're going to put this into your perspective and how you're going to reverse think what you've just learned from your client, and then you're going to apply it to your perspective and how you can build out your entire sales strategy. Because getting more clients is all about connecting and cultivating and then closing or converting that client to give them your product or service so that you can create an impact. So you can create that ripple that occurs for them as an individual, in their business, in their personal life, right? And how that then spreads out in the community. Ladies, this is what sales is about. At the end of the day, it's about creating an impact because you have a gift, and that gift is your product or service and how you help and serve others. And that's why you need to be focused on getting more clients so that you can change the world, right? I mean, that's what is so powerful to me about sales and why it's always resonated with me. From the very beginning, it was because it allowed me to help others and to serve others and to make their world just a little bit better by what I did and how I helped them. And I am so excited about this show and why we're doing it. And it's because I get to help you. I get to help you have an impact, to build better sales strategies, to think through your process, to think like the client, to provide that amazing client journey, and then how it's going to impact the relationships that you have, the conversations that you're having, the collaboration, how you're going to use that in your outreach, in your follow-up, and how you're going to use that when you're doing presentations, how you show up, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on your own Win-Win Women network show, whether it's when you're having face-to-face meetings, however you're doing you're showing up, right? And that's going to then be that presentation that you have. And that leads into the negotiation so that you can guide your client to a decision. Then you're going to be implementing, delivering your product or service, nurturing that client and the opportunities that come after so that you can then full circle receive the referrals, the testimonials, the recommendations, those online reviews, whatever you need for your business, because that is going to then scale and build and grow even further and faster. And it's all about getting more clients. So ladies, I'm so glad that you joined me today. And I want you to know, first off, I love hearing from you. And it's so easy to connect with me. I am the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me on my website at petitetoqueen.com. And, we have so many resources available for you. And to stay current on all of those, the advice that we have, the shows that we offer, all the information that's there, you can sign up for our weekly wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. And then you're not going to miss out on a single thing, and including information about the next show for Get My Clients. You're going to get that reminder so that you can tune in and be here live, and you will learn every week. You're going to come away with some action items. So today, what's that action item? What is it? It's to start thinking like your client. I want you to go back and go through that exercise that I remember what I said. I want you to think about who that individual is, right? So who is she? She has a problem. What is it? An area of concern, a dilemma, a challenge? What is she looking for? How's it going to help her? Why does it matter? So she can. Ladies, so she can. What's your big outcome? What's your big goal? What's your big initiative? And for you, I hope it's to get more clients. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am absolutely thrilled that you were here. And I want to thank you again. And I'll see you next week on Get More Clients.